Greetings, folks. This is Monday night, April the 8th, 2019. I'm Tom Lineweaver. Welcome to the Night Shift. What I want to talk to you about, if you can see on the poster, the screen, is past lives. Do you believe in past lives? Well, let me tell you something. I do. I have been interested in a possible past life for some time. The reasons are, I have had many episodes of deja vu throughout my life, feeling I've been somewhere that I know I haven't been there before, at least not in this life. I've also met people I thought for certain I knew. Most of the time I said nothing, but sometimes I did. Most of the time it's a lady. So it's my guess in a past life I was a ladies' man. Also, I have had a very strong inclination that I should live in Montana. And since I have interest in religion, politics, and weather, these are the top three. I don't know what that has to do with Montana or not. By the way, this is an article I wrote, let's see, back in 2017. Almost 2 years ago. Further back, I believe I was a personal friend of Saul of Tarsus. That is before his conversion. Afterwards, he was gallivanting throughout the known world telling people about Jesus. He did send me letters, but I never seen him again in person. Even in his life, in this life, I have an urge to understand the Roman Empire of that time, so I studied it. Let me tell you, life in this world, as bad as it is, it was a lot worse then. If Nero would have nuclear weapons, we wouldn't have a planet. But I fear we have a Nero type in the White House now, and that is scary. Okay. Of course, I'm referring to Donald Trump. Anyway, I took a past life test. And if you, I'll give you the link to this article, and there's a link to the test that you can take it if you want. And these are the results. In your previous life, you were a scientist, a biochemist, and a mechanic. All in one. Yeah, right. I would rather think I was a preacher, a weatherman, and a politician all in one. You worked on the development of new kinds of medicine for a biochemical company. However, your inventions were not revolutionary enough to make you well known all around the world. Despite this, you had a very high IQ, and you were also a pretty tenacious person. I have to look up that word. I forget what tenacious means. Anyway, you were born in Washington in 1890. Now, I don't know if that means the state of Washington or Washington, D.C., but 1890 probably means Washington, D.C. But due to your father's job, you had to move to New York when you were 16. You were brought up in a decent family, and you had 2 sisters. Because you had a high IQ in your previous life, it's possible and predictable that you also have a high IQ today. Yeah, I don't know if 72 is a high IQ. I took an IQ test when I was, I don't know how old I was. It was sometime in my teen years, sometime in high school. And I scored 72. Of course, yeah, I just don't think it's you can measure IQ by a test. And so I just did anything with it. I hardly read the questions. And you know how you had to take a pencil and mark in the square or the box, or was it Anyway, you marked your answer like that. Well, I just marked anything. And quite by accident, I got a 72 IQ. I'm sorry, I just don't think you can test IQ that way. Anyway, when you were 33, you married your fiancée, Mary. And you lived a peaceful life in Kansas. You died on the 3rd of June, 1954, which was 2 years, almost 2 years before I was born. Okay, so that was the result of a past life test. The problem with it is it cannot be accurate. You see, I was asked what my sign is. Well, it's Taurus. But believe that they did not give Taurus as an option. And I couldn't skip it. I couldn't move on until I picked one. So I picked Gemini, the other sign in May. So, do I believe in past lives? Yes, I do. At first, it was just curiosity. But then, when I saw where Jesus said that John the Baptist is Elijah. Now, he didn't say John the Baptist is like Elijah. He said John the Baptist is Elijah. Remember the prophecies of the Old Testament? How Elijah was supposed to come back before the great day of the Lord? Okay. Well, according to Christ, John the Baptist is that Elijah that was to come before the great day of the Lord. So that convinced me. I believe that at least some of us have a past life. Question is, can we learn from them, and what are they trying to teach us? So, that's a little bit about my past life. What do you think? Could we have past lives? Now let me tell you, from an early age, I don't remember how old I was when I had this urge to live in Montana. But there's something else. When I was very young, I had an urge to be a preacher. Yes. I mean, when I was 7 years old, on my 7th birthday, my parents gave me a Bible. And I think it's because I used to go into my mother's purse and get her Bible out. Okay? So at a very young age, I was interested in the Bible. And I wanted to be a preacher. That was my first inclination of what I wanted to do with my life. All right? Of course, later I wanted to be a private investigator like Mannix or Cannon. I thought that was interesting. Never wanted to be a cop, though. I don't know why, but I never wanted to be a cop. But from the youngest urges, I was probably, if I had a past life, one of them had to be a preacher in Montana. What do you think? Is that possible? I mean, you've probably heard many of my commentaries. You know that I'm interested in the Bible. You know that I do something called Christ Matters. You know that I also put together sermons. Okay? But I also talk politics. Yep. I talk a lot about politics. And I'm also interested in the weather. I've talked about the weather. I've talked about climate change. So that could all be because of my past life. I mean, why else? Well, at the earliest age, I mean, as long as I can remember, A, I wanted to be a preacher. B, I wanted to live in Montana. Yeah, I really believe that I was a past life, in Montana. I really do. Now, let's see. What is it about Montana? I mean, when did Montana become a state? Anybody know? Okay. I'm going to look it up. Montana. All right. Montana is a western state defined by its diverse terrain, ranging from the Rocky Mountains to the Great Plains. Its wide open spaces include Glacier National Park, which is unconstitutional, a vast wilderness preserve. Okay, this does not tell me when it became a state. Okay, well, let's see. They have a population of 1.062 million as of 2018. Okay. Well, I'm not seeing when Montana became a state. But either way, let's see. Let's see if I can find it. When it became... Okay, I misspelled the word state. And yeah, that's the general idea. I love this. Okay. Montana statehood granted November the 8th, 1889. So I'm guessing I might have also lived in Montana before it became a state. Because I get this feeling that I go back longer than that. Anyway, it's just my idea. Of course, it could have became a state while I was living there. Okay. So, yeah, I've always had this incredible urge to live in Montana. So, quite frankly, I cherish that I have a few friends that live in Montana, Facebook pals, and they're on Twitter, they're on various different places, and different, I cherish people from Montana. I think that was part of my past life. Apparently, I loved Montana and its people, and I still have that in me. So I don't know why that is. Okay. So, hey Montana, if you're in Montana, I want you to look up a preacher from the 1800s that lived somewhere in Montana. Was he a ladies' man? I mean, this preacher probably preached about politics. Okay? He probably preached about whatever the president was doing. Maybe he preached against the Civil War. Maybe he preached against what Abraham Lincoln was doing. I mean, who knows? I mean, he obviously would have used the Bible to preach against Abraham Lincoln. I don't know what verses he would have been using. But it's the same way I'm preaching against Donald Trump. I'm preaching that Donald Trump is the most evil president in my lifetime. I am preaching that Donald Trump is biblically a very evil man. Okay? So I'm question. Is it possible that a preacher in Montana preached against Abraham Lincoln? You know, I should have tried to do some research on that, see if I can find a preacher from Montana that did that. It would be interesting. Okay, so yeah, I kind of do believe in past lives. I do believe that I have a past life in Montana. I mean, why else would I have this incredible urge to be in Montana? I mean, do you ever feel like you're homesick for some place? Well, that's how I feel about Montana. I'm homesick for Montana. So, anyway, I'm not homesick for the Roman Empire. I don't know why. I could have been killed by Nero. You know, I don't know. He might have put me in the lion's den or something like that. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I might have been. I think I was a friend of Saul of Tarsus before he became Paul. So, okay. Well, that's that's night shift for tonight. Thanks for listening.